Welcome to the November 2nd, 2020 Informal County Commission meeting. We don't have anyone to address the commission, so we'll call our meeting to order. First of all, we have a census update from Jeff Tyndall. Jeff?
Okay, is this working? There we go. Thank you, Mayor. Before we get into the Planning Commission items tonight, I wanted to share, since the census technically closed on October 15th, the ongoing and efforts from CMC counts that started in October of 2018. We had a representative from the federal census come here and meet with the then city and county mayors. We met with myself, the chiefs of staff, and some others, and by the end of the day, I was told that I was the head of the local complete count committee. And I think it is the right place at the Regional Planning Commission with our reach across both city and county resources to have this. You'll remember we kind of kicked off April 2019 with the 1 year out on April 1st from the census the next year. Between all that time, we had the help of a lot of different resources, and I just want to call your attention to some of the main contributors to our local complete count committee. Obviously, the city and county mayor's offices and their chiefs of staff, very integral in keeping this going and keeping the interest up. We had multiple city council members and county commissioners, especially from what we would call undercounted wards or unrepresented areas. And then a huge shout out to the city, the county, the school system, the sheriff's department, and Austin Peay's public affairs offices. They just went above and beyond for this effort, really helped in writing scripts and writing PSAs, and really helped getting the word out through all 5 of those different channels, especially at the school system. I hate that COVID happened for multiple reasons, but we were going to have a big school event about a month out from the census day, and that kind of all got the kibosh because of all the kids going home and going virtual after that. Chamber of Commerce, we also had some cultural associations that you see there, and we had other civic-minded individuals pop in and out of that group over the course of the 2 years. By our estimates, we've engaged well over tens of thousands of individuals, probably not just of this county because of the events that we did, but a lot of residents of Clarksville, Montgomery County. Some of the big events that we went to, Riverfest, we were there all the days of that back in 2019. I know she's not here tonight in person, but Commissioner Leverett led a big contingent for the Back to School Bash, which was at Lincoln Homes in Summit Heights this past year. And I will tell you, in the days after that event, we actually could see an uptick in the response rates in those census tracts. So I think that was a very effective event there. We attended several Austin Peay and high school football games back last year. Myself, as well as individuals from the group or from Big Census, we talked to a lot of different civic groups, Kiwanis, typo there, Rotary, AARP, and Civitan, to name a few. We really did a large local outreach. We kind of said, how can we get the most bang for our buck and reach the folks out there? 5 Star Media was great in getting a lot of radio and internet stuff out there for us with all the different reach from their different radio stations. We did a couple morning talk shows on Sunday morning for the local audience. A lot of internet presence. Back when movies and people were going to the movies still, we did a 3-week run between Christmas and New Year's last year where we had a 30-second moving ad prior to the movies that were going on at the time. And we have a bus advertisement that's still rolling around town, and appreciate CTS helping us out there. And then in late 2019, early 2020, we hung hundreds and hundreds of posters that either the census provided or we made ourselves to just get the word out, and we hit all the businesses up and down Fort Campbell Boulevard and Madison Street and a couple of south of the river that we could get to, and tried to go to a lot of daycares, medical offices, check cashing facilities, folks that had a lot of turnover in their businesses. In the top right corner, you'll see there, and this is data provided to us by the census, they have the names and locations of 170 businesses that supported the U.S. Census efforts in Montgomery County. And by their count, over 70 education events were held between our group and their group over the last 2 years. So how did we do? I'd say we did much better than 2010 here locally. I'll start from the top down. I don't have the U.S. Census here, but it pretty much mirrors Tennessee. The U.S. went from a 67%, and what we're talking about here is early self-response turn in. So when you got that letter in the mail, you got the postcard, or you did it ahead of time, did you go online, did you make the phone call, or did you send your form back in? That's self-response. Once someone self-responds, the census doesn't have to follow up. They'll do a couple spot checks to make sure that their quality control is good, but they're not knocking on your door to do an initial count. So we wanted to get as good, and that was our goal early on, to have the best early self-response count we could have for the city and the county. Even though this year was available to do for the first time on the internet, both Tennessee and the nation saw a 1% drop in early self-response tallies. I don't have any data on why they think that yet, and I'm sure as they crunch their data and look back at it, we'll see some data come out on that and why they think that. But Tennessee had an early self-response of 67.1% in 2010 and 66% this year as of October 15th when the census closed. Montgomery County, however, went from 64.1%, which was below the state average in 2010, and we well beat the state average in 2020 with a 0.41% increase raw count over that number. And the city of Clarksville also did very well, going from 64.2%, which was below the state average, and we beat the state average this year, 66.7%, an increase of 2.5%. Bottom left chart there, you'll see that Clarksville, out of the top 5 biggest cities in the state, we had the best self-response turnout of all of them, and I do have to give a good shout out to Metro Nashville, doing very well for a large-sized city. You don't often see large-sized cities get well above that 60% mark, so they did pretty well there. The map on the right, just to call out a few areas, this is the total response, so out of 100% turnout, the darker blue, the better. You'll see we had 2 census tracts that were over 80%. That was the area by MLK and Memorial Extension, and then another area south of Dunbar Cave Road by Wilma Rudolph, both over 80%. And then other ones in the dark there, you'll see Sango and Fredonia also did really well. They've historically done well. Woodlawn did very well this year, all over 70% in their tracts, and even the Tylertown area did very well at 75%. Areas that we knew were going to be tough coming in was downtown and New Providence, and it obviously showed there, 40% downtown, 38% in New Providence. You have a lot of transient folks through that area, and I will say we probably lost the college kids. The census was April 1st. The mailers were going out just before April 1st, but a lot of them left mid-March due to COVID. Those that were in the dorm at the time have been counted as residents of downtown, but we've lost, I can't really put a number on it, but wouldn't be surprised if it's a couple hundred that have went home at the time, didn't fill out their census and didn't fill it out from wherever they went home to at the time. We'll see how the census responded to that with the way they enumerated after the fact. Here's just a slightly closer look as I finish up with the census here. Again, 2 of our tracts exceeded 80%. 20% of our total tracts countywide exceeded 75%. I think that's very good. However, the map on the left, this map shows the change from 2010 to 2020. So you want to be blue on this map, showing that you did better than your 2010 mark. And I was surprised to see when we started crunching the numbers about a month ago that south of the river all had declines. We made a lot of advertising pushes for those areas that both the census and the committee saw as areas of potential low turnout. Again, New Providence, a lot of those neighborhoods up and down Fort Campbell Boulevard and Tiny Town Road. Wouldn't say we turned our attention away from south of the river, but it ended up being an area that just didn't have quite the turnout. Now, I will say they were still all well in the 60s and 70% mark, so it is a drop, but they did well. But there wasn't as much interest as 2010. So something to look forward to in 2030 over there. Was really encouraged though by the exit 4 area. You saw an 8 and 10% increase right there. And then 12% was our biggest increase there at Tiny Town Road and exit 1. The Liberty Park area, Dover Road also did very well, 9% increase over there. And you can see most of the other areas, 2, 3, 4, 5% increase. So very good interest there. One final comment in the bottom left there as we go forward is the Planning Commission is going to keep an eye on how we're growing. We do anyway. And if we see a neighborhood or a tract or an area of the city or a county that's growing rapidly and in a very tight area, I'd say sort of like the Farmington subdivision and the surrounding subdivisions there, we may recommend in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years that the city or county undertake a special census, which means you count just a specific area and you turn those results over to the U.S. Census. You can actually partner with the census to do that, or you can use a third-party firm. But once that number gets certified by the census, then your city population is certified versus an estimate. And they'll do estimates every 2 or 4 years between the big censuses. You'll remember back in 2018, they said that's when Montgomery County officially crested, I think, 200 or 220,000 people at the time. That was an estimate. But when you do a special census, you're in the books with that population. And if you remember early on, a lot of our talking points were around the amount of federal and state funds and grants that come from having a certain amount of population. So that's something we'll keep a look on and keep the mayor's offices apprised of. Mayor, commissioners, I'll take any questions at this time, but it was a pleasure to serve the community, learn a lot about the census, and really be the focal point. And we were happy with the results we saw.
Any of our commissioners present have a question of Mr. Tyndall? Who? Commissioner Pritchard?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you and the Regional Planning Commission and all the agencies that you garnered to assist you in this massive effort, and for being able to pull a rabbit out of the hat, literally, in spite of everything that's gone down. So you guys have done an awesome job, and we want to thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other commissioners that are here present have a question? Any commissioners joining us via WebEx?
You'll get a full report in your packet next week with all the finer details too for your use.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. All right. On to our public hearing and our zoning resolutions, CZ 12-2020. This was deferred from October. There will be no public hearing, but it's an application of Mary B. Bourne, Revocable Trust, Richard Brian Bourne from AG to E1. Jeff, you just want to bounce back through this real quick?
Sure. This was 230 acres in ag requesting to go to E1. It was deferred last month for further consideration by the commissioners. Just as a reminder, it's outside the urban growth boundary in the rural area of the growth plan. And there's the pictures. If there's nothing's material changed on this over the last month, but if there are any additional questions, I guess we can answer them at this time.
Commissioners, any questions on CZ 12-2020? Any commissioner that's WebEx have a question? All right. Next is CZ 20-2020, application of Honeycutt Properties LP, RE4E Holdings LLC from AG to E1. And Jeff, I'm going to let you do both of these, and then we'll do the public hearing since it's remote from here. So if you would, CZ 20.
Sure thing, Mayor. Thank you. The agent on this application is Eric Honeycutt. This is 1 acre, currently zoned ag, requesting to go to E1. It's a little hard to see on the screen, but I'll point out that it's the subject property, which is an existing house, and then a just slight sliver of the property to the south. That's why there's a portion of that other census tract there on the right, or sorry, it's got the census on the mind, tax parcel on the right there. They're requesting to go to E1, which requires a 1 acre minimum. Their property is 0.97 acres right now, so they just need that little extra and they'll plat it after the fact. This is in County Commission District 4. It's not an extension of the zoning classification. The property fronts State Route 48, 180 feet south of the 48 Castleberry Hollow intersection. It is in the rural area of the growth plan. We received no comments or concerns from other departments. Proposed impact would be minimal. Historical estimates would be 1 house, what's already out there. It is in the Cumberland planning area. Staff recommends approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the adopted land use plan. The proposed request permits the primary property to be brought into compliance with the minimum lot size of E1, and adequate infrastructure serves the site. Planning Commission also recommends approval.
Any questions on CZ 2020? Any commissioners that are joining us remote have any questions? I see people shaking their head, no? Okay. CZ 2020, application of Donna and Roger Wallace from AG to R1.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a new application, so even though this was heard by this body, known as CZ 8 2020, the Planning Commission and you should consider this a new application. Just a disclaimer on that, you're not bound to vote any way that you voted on the previous application. On this application, it is a brand-new application, even though it is relatively the same application as before. This is 318 acres off Rossview Road, currently zoned Ag, requesting to go to R1. And there it is, just east of Exit 8, Interstate 24. It's currently a rolling hills, currently being used for row cropping. It has a lot of tree lines, multiple sinkholes, a TVA easement, and some other flooding encumbrances on it in the south part of it. It's in County Commission District 19. It is in the urban growth boundary. And this is looking from the Farmington subdivision south at the subject property. The front part of it is row cropped, as you can see. This is the property next to it that I believe is Stone's Manor behind there, which is the subdivision to the west. Applicant's estimated for total units is 286. Planning Commission's estimate is 307. It's to be noted that approximately 200 acres of this parcel is encumbered with steep topography and with the TVA easement and with floodplains, so they wouldn't be able to maximize the acreage of this property. It's in the Rossview planning area. Planning staff recommends approval. The proposed zoning request is consistent with the land use plan. The proposed R1 single family residential district is appropriate zoning classification for the area and is an extension of R1 to the north and to the west. Adequate infrastructure serves the site and no adverse environmental issues were identified. A traffic assessment was submitted with an acceptable level of service for site distance at the entrance of Rossview Road. During construction stages, this development will need reservation of future right-of-way for construction of a turn lane or other improvements on Rossview Road. Planning Commission also recommends approval.
Any questions on CZ 2020? Commissioner Keene?
Go over again why they're asking for another zoning. What was it zoned for originally?
It's always been ag.
Well, what did we vote on?
It was voted on earlier this year, right in the first quarter of the year, but it was denied by a vote, so it lost at County Commission.
Okay.
They then asked the commission to invoke Chapter 11. There's a section in there that says if 2/3 of County Commission allows, an application can come before you again without having to wait a year. Any application, both at the city and the county, that fails at county or city elected bodies must wait a year before they apply at the Planning Commission again. That's to keep applicants from wearing out the opposition, if you will, by just keep applying and applying and applying. That was put in many years ago. So the County Commission here felt fit to allow them to try again. They're coming through the process again as a new application, but it's the same application that you saw earlier this year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners? I don't have the little Q thing. I'm looking at WebEx. Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question, Jeff. Is there anything material different from the first application to this one?
There's nothing different between the applications, but we did put it through a full review just like last time. And
Okay, thanks.
No new findings.
And you mentioned something early that kind of confused me a little bit. I think maybe it confused a couple of folks. Maybe everyone's brighter than I am tonight, but that's possible for sure. You mentioned that just because we voted one way the first time that we're not obligated to vote that way the second time, but if we voted with clear conscience the first time and there's nothing material that's changed with it, why wouldn't we vote the same way the second time?
I just wanted to make it clear, I think Mr. Keene kind of hit on the same topic of why are we seeing this again? It is a new application, just treat it like a new application and, don't tie it to your original vote if you don't want to. That's up to each of your discretion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining.
Commissioner Gannon?
Just point of clarification, we did vote by 2/3 in order to allow them to bring it back up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I
Yes.
believe that is correct.
And that was 2 months ago?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
September meeting.
thank you.
Who? Anyone else? Any of our remote commissioners have a question? All right. All right, at this time, we'll go into public hearing to hear comments regarding CZ 2020 application of Honeycutt Properties LP, RE4E Holdings LLC from AG to E1. Michelle, is there anyone present in the training room to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, sir, we have 2 people to speak in favor of the application, and then Mr. McKay is here to answer any questions for the commissioners.
Is this for CZ 20?
No, this is for CZ 21.
Okay, so no one present to,
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
no one present to speak
There is no one present to speak for CZ 20.
in favor or opposition?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We'll now go to CZ 21, 2020, application of Donna and Roger Wallace from AG to R1. Is there anyone present to speak on behalf of this application?
There is, Mayor, there are 2 people to speak on behalf of this
Okay,
application.
I assume they can hear me. Their comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If they would, please identify themselves by name and their address, please.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is George Dean. I'm here at the request of the applicant on behalf of the applicant. I'm an attorney from Nashville. Address is 315 Dedrick Street, downtown Nashville. Let me first say that with regard to the question about anything new, I have a kind of a different take on that. At about the same time that this application was made, another application was made by the Olivers about the same time. In the same general area of the county, a little bit further north, but in the same general area. The Planning Commission recommended against. It's a much higher density, a number of adverse comments about the application, but the local legislative body, the County Commission, went ahead and approved that. We felt like, well, if a project with more density gets approved by the County Commission, that we should come back and again say, listen, we have less density, 280 units on approximately 320 acres, and we have met all of the requirements of the Planning Commission. We think we should ask the County Commission to take another look at it because the other one was approved when it didn't meet the requirements. Perhaps we have a chance to convince you sitting up there tonight that since we do meet the requirements, that we should be approved as well. Remember, less density on our project, and we meet all the requirements that the Planning Commission recommended about. Let me just go through those real quickly. Jeff mentioned them, but I'll go through again. This project is consistent with a land use plan. The Oliver property was not. R1 is appropriate zoning according to the Planning Commission and the planning staff. That was not true in the Oliver case. I'm not being critical of Oliver. Certainly, the County Commission decided to make that change, and certainly that is within your prerogative. But we meet all the requirements and are asking for the same treatment. The required infrastructure was present. We did a traffic report, no impact on the surrounding traffic issues. Site distance for the entrance was appropriate. Dedication of future rights-of-way. My clients are going to dedicate the future rights-of-way. If there's a left turn in lane needed, they will take care of that. So we think that we meet all the requirements that are normally set up, comply with all the provisions of the land use plan. And again, the reason to be back is because of the favorable treatment to the Oliver property, even though they did not meet all the requirements. Again, not being critical of them at all. I'm glad they were approved, but we'd ask the commission to approve us as well because we're less dense and because we meet all the requirements that are normally looked at in these kinds of cases. I appreciate your time. I'm glad to respond to any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Who? Commissioner Beal?
Thank you. Very quick question for you. I was one of the no votes the last time this came up, and I would be curious to know if you can actually tell me anything different than what you said last time to convince me to change my vote to a yes vote.
Yeah, about the only, I wasn't here last time. I was retained afterwards, so hard for me to do that. Maybe Mr. Blackwell can take a shot at that. Really, the only thing I can say is that it seems like the treatment of one applicant is a little bit different from the treatment of my clients. And it doesn't seem fair, especially since my clients meet those requirements and are less dense. If that's not enough to change your mind, I probably don't have anything else I can say.
So what you're saying is that we should vote yes on this one because we made the mistake of voting yes on the last one. That's.
No, I can totally, it's certainly within your discretion to do what you think is right, and I'm sure that's what you've done each time. I'm just saying that when you look at the factors, the planning factors dispassionately, we meet them all, and I wouldn't second guess what you did on Oliver. I'm sure that there were things about Oliver that made the commission feel favorable to that project. I'm just saying that whatever those factors were, we have the same factors. We meet all the kinds of requirements, planning factors that normally are looked at, in addition to the fact that we're less dense. There's not going to be as many people in this project as there were on the Oliver project.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Leverett?
Yeah, yes, I still am asking the question about the impact it's going to have on the Roster school area. What impact, sir, can you tell us, will it or will not have on the Roster elementary, middle, and school, high school area? I think that was also one of the biggest concerns of the commission. If I remember, this zoning case was one of the concerns, was the impact on the school system.
Jeff,
Well, and I can understand that. I can understand that completely. And the planning report, the staff report, has the indication from the Department of Education that says that there will definitely be an impact on the schools in the area. I want to point out, though, that the same representation by the school board was made on the Oliver property. When you compare the two recommendations, and I've done that, they're both basically the same. So it doesn't make much sense to say that if we get turned down for that reason and the Oliver property is approved, particularly when the Oliver property will have more children because of more density. This project has less density.
Commissioner Gannon?
Yeah, and I don't know if this is the question you can answer, or if you can't, then Mr. Blackwell can after, when he comes up, is, the school, there's a new school being built there. When will the first house be ready for sale? Will it be before or after that new school is built?
I imagine it'll take several years before the homes are up. I don't know when the school will be constructed.
We're looking at construction day to move in next year or the year after?
Completion is, I got to get my years right.
2022?
Spring of 22, I believe is
Right.
correct, or August of 22.
Middle school 2022.
I think if Mr. Blackwell is present and he's going to speak,
Yeah.
you can ask him that question.
I'll ask Mr. Blackwell when he
Okay.
comes up. Okay.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else present to speak on behalf of CZ 21, 2020?
Yes, sir. Chris Blackwell is here.
Hey, good evening. I want to start off by saying just thank you for putting the time into this and rehearing it. I think it's right. And I think this will be something we'll all be proud of when it's completed. So open to any questions.
Commissioner Gannon?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chris, the new school is going to be proposed to be completed August of 2022. Will the first house for sale in this subdivision be before that or after that? Or when do you expect the first house probably for sale to be completed?
Our timeline from the last time we was here was September of 22, when the first house will be completed to be move-in ready.
And those are approximately how many houses at that time?
It's 50 to 75 houses on the first phase.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Blackwell? None of our commissioners that are remote have questions? Okay. All right, we will now, I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blackwell.
On the school date,
Mr. House, you're muted or you're spinning.
listen,
I think the school date's August of 2022.
just as for the middle school, the elementary would be
We're not hearing you.
August.
So, Mr. House, if you can hear me, and you can nod your head, the middle school will be ready for occupation August of 2022, and the elementary school or the high school will be next. Is that correct?
23.
In 23, and the elementary in 24. Good hand signals. I know the general public couldn't see you, but we could. All right. Any other questions? All right, we'll now close the public hearing. We'll go on to our resolutions. Commissioners, we have two resolutions before us. Both of those are scheduled for the consent agenda. Resolution 2011-1 is a resolution of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners approving amendments to the 2020-21 CMCSS school budget. Any questions regarding 2011-1? I see no questions. Any of our remotes have any questions? I see that they don't. All right, 2011-2, resolution to accept a donation of $20,000 from the Clarksville Rotary Sunrise Club to help with projects and other related items for the Wade Bourne Nature Center, and to name the deck and offer limited use to the Rotary Sunrise Club. Is there any questions regarding 2011-2? I see none for any of our commissioners that are here in the building, any of our remote commissioners. I see everyone shaking their head. Just a reminder that items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial, and that can be approved by one motion, and if a commissioner chooses, they may request an item to be removed. Without objection, 2011-3, we'd like to bring that to the floor tonight. Is there any objection to suspending the rules for 2011-3? I see no objections. 2011-3 is a resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners appropriating Phase 1 design funding for the expansion of Rossview Road near the future site of the Clarksville Montgomery County School System proposed new school complex. Commissioners, basically what this is there's some design money that needs to be spent ahead of our funding resolution or our bond resolution to fund the schools. That will probably be before you next month. And all we'll do, Jeff, you correct me if I'm wrong, we'll authorize the use of those funds and then we'll reimburse ourselves from the bond proceeds. Any questions regarding 2011-3? Commissioner Gannon.
Go on the consent agenda?
Because we have to suspend the rules, I think we have to vote to suspend the rules at next Monday night and hear it that way. All right. Commissioners, under some unfinished business, I think I said this at our last meeting, but Resolution 2010-10, there were some account numbers that weren't correct in that resolution, appropriating funds for the purpose of employing an additional position in the assessor's office. And really the code was 54110 that we approved, and it should have been 52300, and it should have been under clerical personnel as opposed to deputies. And Jeff, I want to make sure we get this right, because the resolution says assessor's office, but the note at the bottom says under the sheriff's office department code. So 54110 was actually the sheriff's department code.
Yes, sir. If you look at the first 6 or 7 codes, it was showing 54110.
Okay.
And that was the sheriff's office. The last 2 were 52600, which was IT. This was all for the assessor's office, and they all needed to be the department code of 52300. The only change was the clerical personnel line item was originally deputies, and now it's 51620, which is clerical personnel for the assessor's office.
So there, according to Mr. Harvey, we don't have to vote on that, but that will be read into the minutes at our formal meeting next Monday night. Just a point of information. You'll see on your agenda our reports for approval, the commission meeting minutes, and the county clerk's report. The county mayor nominations, we have a few of those. VSO, our Veteran Service Organization, Rich Holliday nominated to replace Dewey Browder for a 4-year term to expire November 2024. And Rob Salome has been filling the unexpired term of Dave Cooper, is nominated to fill his first 4-year term to expire November of 2024. The Community Corrections Advisory Board, Patsy Gregory, Robertson County Commission, is nominated to serve another 3-year term to expire November 2023. Reed Poland, defense attorney, is nominated to serve another 3-year term to expire November 2023. And Vicki Ogburn, nonprofit agency, is nominated to fill the unexpired term of Alicia Sharpton with term to expire November 2021. And under county mayor appointments, the E91 Emergency Communication Board, Fire Chief Freddie Montgomery is appointed to fill the unexpired term of Mark Warzenak with the term expiring January of 2024. In the Senior Citizens Board of Directors, Stephanie Mason, who has been filling the unexpired term of Juan Reyes, is appointed to serve a 3-year term to expire April 2023. Mike Williamson, who has been filling the unexpired term of Elena Sampson, is reappointed to serve a 3-year term to expire April of 2023. Ronnie DeVault, appointed to replace Howard Rex Williams Sr. for a 3-year term to expire April 2023. And DeVelma Dixon, appointed to fill the unexpired term of Tony Bullock with term to expire of April of 2021. Commissioner, all of those recommendations come from VSO, Community Corrections, the 911 Board, and the Senior Citizens Board, and all 4 of those will require commission approval. Any questions on the county mayor nominations and appointments? You'll see the reports file, building and codes, monthly report, and the capital projects construction update report. I would ask you to really take a look at that. Nick Powell and his staff do a really great job on that update, and it will probably get you up to speed on all of our county projects. Just a few announcements. The Clarksville Montgomery County Christmas Parade is scheduled for Saturday, December the 5th in downtown Clarksville. If you'd like to ride the county float, just let Shelley know. At 9 a.m. on Saturday on Veterans Day, which is the 11th, is the Veterans Day Parade, or the ceremony here at the courthouse, and the parade to follow immediately afterwards. Commissioner Leverett, I see you on the screen. We hope that you are doing better. I see a big smile on your face, so that's good to see. Sent you a text message and I hope you've had another good day.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
And Commissioner Arnold Hodges is joining us via phone. He doesn't have a camera, and I think he wanted to say something to the commissioners as well. Commissioner Hodges? Can somebody unmute him? Huh? Okay, Commissioner Hodges, can you unmute? We don't have him blocked, do we? No. Well, maybe he can join us next Monday night, and we'll give him that same opportunity. I know Commissioner Ray said he talked to him today, said he's doing a little bit better. Hadn't been sleeping well, but now it's getting some sleep, I understand. And so we'll make sure we make some arrangements so Commissioner Hodges can give us an update. And lastly, Commissioners, I want to thank each and every one of you that reached out to me during my illness. I want to thank you for your thoughts and your prayers, and I greatly appreciate it. I firmly believe that's what got me through it is prayer. So thanks to each of you. With no further business, we'll stand adjourned.